dressed as cowboys actually moved the set when we did this production.
Yes, I noticed that's being done more and more. The characters moving the set.
And that's a concept. Yeah. It's mostly an artistic concept, and sometimes it's a practical consideration due to lack of availability of technical crew members. Now this is kind of interesting because it's a half round. This is the tower from Oklahoma, the water tower, which was used in Act 2 for near the Skidmore Ranch. And if you look at it on a side view, it's only half. And the reason for that is because to do the scale and the size of the water tower to look impressive and really look realistic, to do the full round would have made this set piece twice as deep as it is. And it only needs to be half as deep for storage in the wings. And the audience, of course, is not seeing this back, and they're only seeing the front. So the illusion is that it's, and you see that done a lot.
Now, I'm just guessing that this is Pal Joey?
This actually is 45 seconds from Broadway.
Ah.
Which one of our staff members here was featured in, Barbara Pettis.
Yeah.
Who was our director
that was
for
a great
Pal
show.
Joey.
And if you could quickly tell what you did.
Okay, what we did with this. How
you went to New York.
My wife and I were going to New York anyway for our anniversary. I think it was last year at this time. And when Neil Simon wrote 45 Seconds from Broadway, he loosely based it on the Hotel Edison coffee shop and cafe. And right across the street is the Broadway Theater. And it really is 45 seconds from Times Square, little coffee shop. And so it's often called the Polish Tea Room. And so what I did was we bought a disposable camera. We forgot our camera, so we bought a disposable camera, took some pictures. We had breakfast there 2 mornings in a row while we were there just to drink in the atmosphere,
get
the feeling of it.
Yeah.
And of course, based on Neil Simon's stage directions and the needs of the play, we weren't able to show the entire coffee shop or replicate it exactly. It's an artistic interpretation of it. So we took a little bit of the corner booth concept from the part of the restaurant that faces the street. The counter is actually in another room. The entrance is in a different place. But in terms of the staging for the actors and to serve the needs of the play for the director, we needed to take pieces and parts and the general feeling of it, the colors of it, and the atmosphere, but not to replicate it, but to give a real feeling that you're there and a feeling of reality. So, you know, it does definitely give you that feeling. It's almost like your memory of something is sometimes different from what something really is. And so that's kind of a good analogy for that. It's the feeling of it. So.
Now this fascinates me, this one.
This one? Oh, this is part of Bye Bye Birdie.
Well, that's what I thought.
And what this was a giant jungle gym. And this is half of it. Doing the telephone hour. And then this is a concept, actually, that is borrowed from the designer who designed the Tommy Toon tour of Bye Bye Birdie. The jungle gym was made out of giant Tinker toys. And I thought that was a great concept. So this is my own take on that and different colors and that type of thing, but I think it's important to credit that person that, you know, the concept, very interesting concept. So this is my own sort of variation of that concept, and the jungle gym turns into the McAfee house by removing the stairs. There was actually a wall hiding the big stair unit. There was another piece like this. And then we removed the wall, put in the stairs, and the other piece that's like this, we put in the refrigerator, put in the kitchen cabinets, put in the counters. So this is a good example here of the jungle gym piece as a complete piece. And then this is the same set piece with the refrigerator, the clock, the kitchen cabinets, the lower cabinets, the staircase added, and then of course we added a 3-dimensional table and chairs right in front here, and this little roof piece. So we were able to, again, use the same set because that telephone hour is only seen for 5 minutes, 7 minutes.
Yeah,
big number.
It's
a great number,
yeah.
But it's a big set to build for one number. So it's nice to be able to reuse that and have a three-dimensional house.
Now this one looks like an overwhelmingly complicated.
It looks a little complicated.
Yes, it is.
This is this is Lost in Yonkers, another Neil Simon play.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
We can look at it and tip it so that people can see the ground plan, and I think that might be part of what you're thinking in terms of it being a little bit complex, because there's a lot of jigs and jogs and angles.
Yeah.
This is a masking flat actually back here, because when they open the doors, we want it to really look like they're going into the bedrooms or the bathroom or the door to the apartment. This was an interesting set because it called for a lot of different things. The boys at the beginning have to sit in the window seat and look out the windows. They're calling for a feeling of a different room, and that's why I used the partial arch divider and another window and the entrance to the kitchen. We needed the entrance to the apartment itself, the entrance to Bella's room, the entrance to the bathroom, and then the entrance to the grandmother's room. And all of those entrances are really important because this play is all about people coming and going, and the grandmother and her
different
grown
generations.
children. And it's all about opening and closing doors because the family is very dysfunctional. And so it's real important that when the grandmother has had enough, she closes the door. When Bella can't seem to communicate with the others in the family, she goes in her room. People keep coming and going. Her long-lost son comes and goes. So again, the doors really become important.
As they do in a farce.
Exactly, that's the door slamming.
Exactly. The door slamming.
Door slamming, mistaken identity, coming and going, and this is a little bit more serious variation on that. So that's why it called for so many things. This is also a very small space. This was the old MMAS Black Box Theater, Mansfield Music and Arts Society. And
yeah, I remember that.
So we needed to create, in a very tight space, we needed to condense, the feeling of the hallway and a whole apartment in a small space, and the feeling of a separate room and the kitchen, and leading out of the apartment. So it was a lot of walls to build, very complex.
I was going to say it must have been. And what have we got down here in the corner?
Now this is another Walpole Footlighters. So this was also, as we said, Walpole Footlighters. This was Little Shop of Horrors, which calls for the interior and exterior of the Skid Row florist, Mushnick Skid Row florist. And in the Broadway production, they had, the off-Broadway production rather, they had sliders, almost like on a track. The way that you would have those flexible slider doors that people would close in front of their washer and dryer upstairs in a breezeway, that type of thing, or to divide a room, and that depicted the street. So every time we were inside the shop, those sliders would be out, and every time they were on the street, the sliders would come in to cover the shop and painted like a street. Well, we didn't really have the ability to do that at the Footlighters, but we also wanted to do something a little different, so we decided to put the entire shop on a revolve. And Bill Lombardi, who is a Walpole resident, engineered this whole turntable. And so we have the interior of the florist shop, and we could turn it this way, we could do it this way, then we could do a complete revolve for the street scenes. We also had some additional scenery along the sides, like the alleyways. We had trash cans and different things.
That's cool.
But this could be turned at any different angle. Bill also very cleverly engineered it so that he offset the pivot point on which this turned, so that what we were able to do is, when we were in the interior of the shop, have the entire set closer to the audience for a more intimate feeling, and when it swung around on its pivot point, since it was off-center, the shop was further upstage or away from the audience, so there was more room in the exterior scenes for the dance numbers. So that was very, very clever.
I've seen that show a number of times, and I did have, and I'm sorry I can't remember which theater company it was, but I did have a company that was doing it, and I interviewed the plant. And at the end of the show, he leaned over and nibbled on my ear.
I was going to say at the end of the show.
It was almost the end of me. Yeah, and at the corner, very corner there.
Oh, we have 42nd Street. 42nd Street is, of course, a spectacle, and it's a show within a show. So you have those considerations right off the bat. You also have the feeling of Art Deco, 1930s, very sleek, the time period very streamlined. And in one of the many big spectacle scenes in the show within a show, which is called Pretty Lady, there's the Shuffle Off to Buffalo routine, where the young bride and groom are going on the Niagara Express, or I think I said Niagara Limited, as in Niagara Falls, and we showed the end of the train with the couple standing there, like in the old black and white movie. We kind of took our cue from that, and they didn't do this in the Broadway production, but then the train opens up. It's on casters, opens up completely, and shows the Pullman car with the sleeper,
the berths or whatever they call it,
the upper and lower berths, the sleeper car. There probably is another name for that. This is a little bit better example here of what the interior actually looked like with the curtains. And of course all those curtains had to be custom made, and my wife Ellen made all those curtains, and we taped them off and spray painted Art Deco stripes on them because that was easier than stitching fabric on there to create, or ribbon. But since you have 8 boxes, that was 16 panels that needed to be made, and the rings sewn on each of those and installed just for that one number. So that was Shuffle Off to Buffalo. This is Pretty Lady, the placard or poster design for the show within a show that I did on the computer.
Let's hold that up, because that looks pretty cool to me. Just hold up a little higher there.
And if you notice the color scheme of this, and of the train, and of the little sofa that's there, everything that was in Pretty Lady, the show within a show, was done in that color scheme with purples, lavenders, blues, periwinkle, a little bit of turquoise, and everything that was done in the real life scenes or the backstage scenes was done more in this color scheme, an autumn color scheme, or more realistic, so that we could always see the contrast, and it's easy for the audience subliminally to tell when we're on stage and when we're off stage.
Well, you know, after what you've told me over the last half hour, Artspace viewers are going to, when they go to the theater from now on, I think they're going to have a much greater appreciation.
And see things a little bit differently.
They're going to go beyond the singing and the dancing and the dialogue and say, wow.
I wanted to mention real quick before we close that Roger Pettis, Barbara's husband, built this set, and how important it is to depend upon the builders, because they execute the design.
That's right.
He did a terrific job, and if they're as much of a perfectionist as you are as a designer, then they're helping realize that dream, that vision.
The thing that fascinates me, well, there are many things that fascinate me about the Footlighters, but the fact that they have a small area and they store everything under the stage and they reuse. Recycle, and you would never know it. You would think that they had bought all new materials because they are so skilled at building those sets. I think it's very exciting, and I'm very proud to have them and support them in Walpole, because I think they've been around a few years.
Quite a few, and known for doing really high quality work.
Well, you and I have barely scratched the surface.
We have. I feel that way.
Barbara's giving me the wrap up. So what I'm going to ask you is, will you come back?
I would love to come back, and
we'll pretend that you're on. You're actually doing a set, and we'll paint it and show how to get all these different effects.
To do a paint demonstration of scenic painting techniques.
Yes, that would be great.
Some brick and marble and wood graining and that type of thing.
Well, thank you very much, Gary.
Thank you.
Break a leg.
I'm happy to be here.
I'm Shirley Esthimer, and you've been watching Artspace.